Vivian Tan, a spokeswoman for the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, said the estimated number of Rohingya who fled to Bangladesh since violence erupted on August 25 had surged from 164,000 on Thursday because aid workers doing a survey had found big groups of uncounted people in border areas. This does not necessarily reflect fresh arrivals within the past 24 hours, but that we have identified more people in different areas that we were not aware of, she said, adding that the number was an estimate and there could be some double counting. But she added, the numbers are so alarming, it really means that we have to step up our response and that the situation in Myanmar has to be addressed urgently. The surge in the number of refugees, many sick or wounded, has strained the resources of aid agencies and communities which are already helping hundreds of thousands displaced by previous waves of violence in Myanmar. Many have no shelter, and aid agencies are racing to provide clean water, sanitation, and food. 2 days ago, UNHCR had said the worst-case scenario was 300,000 refugees. We need to prepare for many more to come, I am afraid, said Shini Kubo, the Bangladesh country manager for the agency. We need huge financial resources. This is unprecedented. This is dramatic. It will continue for weeks and weeks. Rohingya have been fleeing their homes in Myanmar since at least 400 people were killed after insurgent attacks in Rakhine State 2 weeks ago were followed by an army counter-offensive. Myanmar says its security forces are fighting a legitimate campaign against terrorists it blames for a string of attacks on police posts and for burning homes and civilian deaths. It says about 30,000 non-Muslims have been displaced by the violence. About 1.1 million Rohingya Muslims living in Myanmar have long complained of persecution and are seen by many in the Buddhist-majority country as illegal migrants from Bangladesh. While most Rohingya refugees arrive on foot, mostly walking through the jungle and mountains for several days, thousands are braving long and risky voyages across the rough seas of the Bay of Bengal, the UNHCR said. At least 300 boats arrived in Cox's Bazar on Wednesday, the International Organization for Migration said. Burned buildings. Similar protests were held in Indonesia and Malaysia, also Muslim-majority countries. Scores of people also staged protests outside the Myanmar embassies in Tokyo and Manila. Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak said he was considering raising the Rohingya issue when he holds talks with US President Donald Trump next week. Earlier, the head of Malaysia's Coast Guard said it would not turn away Rohingya and was willing to provide them temporary shelter, although it is unlikely any refugees would travel hundreds of kilometers south by sea during the monsoon season. Najib told reporters the Rohingya issue had to be resolved at the source. It is unfair for affected parties to inflict more cost to Malaysia to manage and to receive these people when they should be allowed fundamental and universal rights that have been denied to them, he said.